Now, every once in a while, you might not have a sign or a drape or something that's just static when using cloth. So what if you had something moving, like you had a kid riding his bicycle, and a little flag flapping off the back, or you had somebody running with a flag, or a little sports memorabilia hanging off the side of a car driving by? How would you do that? Well, first we're going to create a plane, and we're going to put it on the positive Z, like that. You can put it on the X if you want. I just like it on the Z. And we'll stretch it out, flag-like. Give it about 30 segments or so. Okay, and we're going to make that editable. And then, like before, we're going to use this rectangular selection. You could use your live selection too if you wanted. I'm just going to select that row of points. Let me come down to point mode, of course, too. Okay, and this is our cloth, flag, whatever you want to call it. Next thing was we'll create a little flagpole. And I'll show you how we can animate this. We're going to take this guy and let's make sure we select it. Go to the edit tool, scale, and let's see, you know what, I had my axis control turned off. Let's scale that down about pole size, and then let's move it over about like that. Looks good. But then I want to increase the height of it. So I'll bring that up to about 700. Drag it down about like there. And then before I make it a polygon, while I'm still in a setup mode here, I'm going to zoom in so you can see. I'm actually adding a number of segments on that y-axis, okay? Because we're going to need that row of points. Otherwise, there's no points there to connect to. And then we're going to make it editable. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is come to a top view, press 2. Come over here, and we'll zoom right in. Lost it there for a minute. Okay. And in order to select these points, you might want to turn that off. That's what I had just done. So go to Filter, Axis, turn that off for a minute. Go to Points, Live Selection, and make sure only Select Visible Elements is turned off so we get everything. And let's just lasso around those. Okay, and then we can put our filter back on just so we can see our handles. Okay, so I've got those two objects that each have points selected, which is very important and key to setting this up. From here, the cylinder, and we'll call this flagpole. We're going to right click. This is going to be a collider from the cloth tags. The cloth itself, of course, is going to be cloth. But in order to join them, you have to put a belt on the cloth. Otherwise, it's going to fall down. Okay. With the belt selected in the tag properties, take the flagpole and drop it in. And then hit set. And you can see that the points change and that relationship is set up. And if you hit the play button, you'll see that those are now attached. And of course, we can set up our regular cloth properties like I showed in the previous video. But what I can do with the flagpole then is this. We'll create an auto key. You can see there's a red border around my work window here, around my viewport, meaning I'm in auto key mode. I'm at frame 0. Select my move tool. And if you want, you can put it just on position. Doesn't matter. I usually just move specifically, so it's not too much of a hassle. And just give this a little bump here. Oops. Make sure we're in this mode here. All right, so that's frame 0. Let's give that a little bump so it records it. And let's hold the control key and maybe go to 30 to create a keyframe. And then we're going to drag down to about 60. And I'm going to move it here. And just for grins and giggles, I'm going to give it a little rotation. Okay, with auto key on, it recorded that step. Hit the play button. holds for 30 frames, and then it moves. And it moves with, and the cloth and everything respond accordingly. So now you've got a rebellion in the streets. You got somebody waving their flag. And let's go a bit further. Let's go over here to 90. And then let's just take the flag and rotate it this way and rotate it this way. Let's go to 150. Expand that out. And at 150, we can rotate around and pull that out here a little bit. And then just kind of, oh, not that one. And then we'll just rotate this back just a bit. Okay, we'll rewind, and then we'll let it calculate. Okay, so the more interestingly you move this, the more dynamic it is, the more that's going to respond. And remember, the basic default cloth is set. So we've got a full negative 9.8 gravity. We've not set up any interaction with the cloth, no self-colliding. We've not set up the stiffness at all, or the rubber, or anything else that I showed you in the previous video. We just left all the defaults on. I'd recommend putting a hypernerve on the flag as well, so that it makes it nice and smooth. And then, of course, you can put any image maps you want on there, and it will work out real nicely. Turn off the auto key, and then let's kind of come in here so we can see this a bit. Let's select the flag. Let's go to cloth, and let's work with some of the parameters a bit. And you can just let it play. What I'm going to do is go to forces, and I'm going to bring the gravity not so strong. I'm going to increase the wind on the X a little bit, just a little bit, because that helps give it a little push in the right direction, even though we're relying on the flagpole pulling it. And then I'm going to increase the flexicon a little bit, and the stiffness, so it's not so floppy. Okay. And then once that's done, I'll go to cache, calculate cache, and I'll do kind of a little preview for us, and then we'll play it in real time. It's always good to do this. Take a little time, take a little coffee break, let it calculate, and really good way to work, because you can really get a feel for this in real time. Now again, I didn't put self-collision on just for time saving, but you should in the expert tab. Just click that on. Okay, and with a hypernerve on, those polygons, all those squares, are going to bend even nicer, even smoother. But the flag is actually colliding with that pole very nicely. It's getting wrapped up and tied in it, which we need some more stiffness to it. But the point here is to see how this is working for you with a moving element and putting that cloth dynamic on there very easily. Okay, so this is almost finished. I'm going to stop and play it back. It'll finish on its own, and then we can see it in real time. Okay, so now you can get a better feel for how this cloth is working. And so many things you can do with this. You don't necessarily need it to be a flag. It could definitely be a tiny little ribbon rotating around. It could be a drape. It could be all kinds of things. So just think of the enormous possibilities of doing something like this, and then putting some materials, putting pictures on, putting moving video on there. It's all very cool stuff.